I think my history was very unique. Of course, as a small child, I didn't know that when my mother held my hand in the early evenings of a summer night and took us for long walks and recommended we pick up a strong stick when we walk and told us stories of Masjid Suleiman and Burujan and the villages in the Zagros Mountains, I had no idea that other children weren't living in the same way. So I came to understand after many years, not until I was really a teenager, that I had a very different kind of upbringing on the side of my mother, in particular being from Masjid Suleiman, an ancient area of ancient Elam. I'm not a practicing Muslim. However, I remembered definitively when I was younger, when my mother wanted to return to Iran, when her father, Dr. Bakhtiar at that time, was passing away. And what was happening was that she needed, in order to return, to be married in a mosque and to have her passport, a dual passport. This was many years ago. This was in the 1969. And I couldn't go at that time to Dr. Bakhtiar's bedside, but all his children who had migrated around the world after World War II, all those children returned at that time. And he was a patriarch of just of immense proportions. He was over 100 years old, and he had become, from a nomadic shepherding family, he had risen to become the first American educated doctor in Iran. He opened the first hospitals there. He wiped out malaria with my grandmother in the province of the Bakhtiari near the Persian Gulf. And he only came to America one time during my childhood. But I'll never forget that day either, because he sat like a nomad. He wore the sandals of a nomad. He wore the clothes of a nomad. He looked something like one would imagine Gandhi in a modern Western world. And in particular, a stunning image that I had of him was he would sit at an antique desk in our colonial home in Chevy Chase in Northwest Washington, D.C., and every morning my mother would prepare for him at 5:30 in the morning a hot bowl of water, and with that water he would take a special soap and he would wash his head and he would shave his head. He was bald. And I would watch this elderly man go through these very ancient tribal rituals. So that was really my introduction into a world of the nomadic life that wasn't outside the front door. In my everyday life, I was going to American public schools. And so I had that one vision of what it was to be westernized, to be educated, the importance of education in America. On the other hand, the impact of Dr. Bakhtiar and the Bakhtiar tribe and the Persian Orientalism had on me was concurrently the importance of education above all else. There was a craving for education. And he was from the land of Cyrus, not far from where in the Behistun rocks is carved the images of Cyrus and Darius and Xerxes. And they proclaimed that area a gateway to all people. So many conquerors had been through that land over 6,000 years that they had decided the wisest thing to do would be to embrace their conquerors, to capitulate, not to have war, but to educate and learn about other cultures. So on the one hand, the American Western style advocated education, and so did the Persian style. It was a love of cultures, a love of people. Religiously, there were different practices, however.